Welcome to the Impatient Entrepreneur podcast, a show where we hear from entrepreneurs and business owners who are chomping at the bit to make their mark on the world. I'm your host, Lauren Quidar-Cockrell. Now, let's hurry up and get to the good stuff. Hi, friends. Welcome back. Today, I'm joined by the creative and inspiring David Sauers, co-founder of Royal Restrooms nationwide. I cannot wait to dive into his story. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate you having me. And yeah, I hope to keep it inspiring here.
Well, we had a chance to chat before today in recording, and I just loved the genesis of your business. It felt deeply relatable as a fellow parent. So why don't you just kick us off with a little background of how did you get here? What do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So my business, Royal Restrooms, is luxury portable restrooms. We create a portable restroom experience for the outdoors. And I think my origin story is quite touching, actually, to most people. 20 something years ago, when I was taking my girls, we were at a Shakespeare in the Park festival, and Stella had to go to the restroom. So like most events, we accept the porta potty, and that's where we're going. Well, she was potty training at the time, and I had CC on my hip, and we're just moseying on over there. And well, once you get in a porta potty, you're kind of like, okay, how do I do this? What's happening here? I mean, when you really think about it, it's like, wow, this is just a bucket that we're going to. And Stella,
you're hoping a baby doesn't fall into it.
Right. Well, as I turned around, Stella's got her hands on the seat. She's looking down in, and I am just cringing. I am just pure panic. Like, what do I do? What's going on? Don't touch anything. How do I control the situation? Yank her up and pass Cece off to a stranger outside. So I've got my foot propped open halfway on the door. You know, we still can't see anything. I'm watching CC and holding Stella over the portable toilet. And next thing I know, I feel this warm sensation all over my leg. And of course, that is exactly what's going on. She is peeing all over me. So I go from being panicked to being very upset and just over it. And I'm sure, like most parents, they've been there. They are just over it. And it is, I'm going home. I'm done. This is ridiculous. And that's really how it started. It started from a terrible experience, one that I'm sure that others have had, just maybe not quite so like that. But, you know, I look to have solve a problem that we didn't really know that we had. And like me and like most people want to go to the bathroom in comfort. They want to be anxiety free. They want it to be clean. And so why not? Why not have a nice portable bathroom experience?
Amen. As someone who has survived potty training two people, you know, it's, I mean, kudos to you. You were very brave to even do an outdoor experience with your children at the time in the first place. Oh my goodness.
You don't really think about it. It was just the accepted norm. It was just kind of one of those evils that you kind of had to deal with, and you suffered through it, and you hoped that the event was, you know, a whole lot better than that experience. And that's, I think that's how we all took it at first.
Yeah. So you get home in your soaking wet pants, and you're like, enough is enough. What happened next?
I measured my half bath downstairs to see exactly how much room we had, how could we do this, and we put it on a trailer. My business partner, Robert Glisson, was really the catalyst that jumped all over this. That was, we can do this. We can make this happen. And there's a market for it. Not only was I just thinking, you know, hey, we can make a bathroom on a trailer. Why can't this be done? Why is it not accepted? Robert was really the driving force behind that. He gave, you know, he was the one that propelled that confidence that this can be, that we could realize it, that we could do it.
Mm-hmm. Is Robert still involved in the business today?
Oh, absolutely. So I take over the national side, which is, we franchised it out now, and we've got roughly 50 offices across the US. But Robert does all of our local Savannah coordination. He takes that whole leg of the business, and I take this side of the business.
This is not one of our official questions, and so I'm taking us off track a little bit, but what has been the secret to your business marriage over the decades of working together?
Well, just like you said, you've touched on it perfectly. It's a marriage. And when you have a partnership like that, you have to know your strengths and weaknesses. And Robert and I both identified those from a very early on, but we also trusted each other in where our expertise landed. And I trusted him where I wasn't 100% sure. Even if I did question it, we let it play out, and he did the same with me. And I think overall, it's communication. It's talking back and forth. It's understanding somebody else's their vision and their purpose and what's driving them. And Robert and I our goals were aligned, and they, we clicked, we worked, and we just fit well together. It's not unlike a traditional marriage, except this is just a business. Not to say that we don't fight or we don't argue, but overall, we do. Hey, we love each other, and there's a justified means.
Yeah. Love it. Because partnerships, like marriages, kind of end in divorce more often than not. So I'm always curious when someone has had a really fruitful, positive partnership. Like, let's hear what worked really well and what the secrets are, other than, like with marriage, picking right in the first place.
Right. And I mean, it's you're staying in your same lane. I'm not intruding upon what he's trying to do. And I'm, it's not that my advice or my thought is not taken into consideration, but we've been doing this long enough that we both know exactly what each market needs and each business needs.
Wonderful. And when did y'all end up franchising?
So we started franchising. We first sold licenses, which is, I think, one of your questions, like what was one of the biggest hurdles?
Oh, yes. Oh, we need a whole
overcame.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Put a pin in that. We'll get to that. All right. My curiosity is getting the best of me, because I'm just tell me everything. Okay. Let's start with the first official question then. We've had our little preamble here. What, David, are you an impatient entrepreneur?
If you want to classify it as impatient, I would probably be 2 or 3 steps above that. I put the cart before the horse in nearly everything that I do. People that know me are just, it's like, is there a word that goes beyond ADHD? Because you've got so many things flying in the air at any given time.
Well, and how have you managed that through you've built this incredible business. You obviously have harnessed it in some fashion, or trained it, or figured out how to make it work for you. What have been some of the ways you've made it, either you've controlled it or made it work for you?
I think a lot of it is the energy and the grit and determination behind it. And one of the driving forces that's always been me is when someone's told me, I can't do this, or I shouldn't do this. And I look at it as, well, why can't I do it? That doesn't, we should be able to do this. So it's not trying to necessarily prove someone wrong. It's my ability to see it out. I'm not satisfied with just an answer. I want to see it to played out. I'm very much one of those people that it's like, don't touch the stove. It's hot. I'm still going to touch it. And I may touch it again. I may touch it a third time just to see if maybe my fingers got more calluses on it or something. So
I will bend this to my will.
yes, I will keep trying it over and over until if I think it can succeed, or if I think that there is something that will work, or something that people need, or something that will better the circumstances, I want to try it.
Yeah. I've heard someone say, sometimes success is just being the last one standing. I was like, I just outlasted.
It is. A lot of times there is. You're exactly right.
Is there anything in particular that you're impatient about right now?
I think that I am most impatient right now about the progress of things when it happens, and I guess the expectations. I have a hard time when my employees don't necessarily see the vision that I am captivating, So I am, I kind of maybe sometimes expect them to read my mind when I haven't fully explained everything. But I get impatient when they can't see what I see, and I even if I feel like I've explained it 100 times or in every possible fashion, I get very impatient about that deliverable of like, why don't you understand? Why don't you see why don't you, do you not hear me correctly? Why, and that goes for, but that goes for a lot of different facets in my life. I take it upon myself to learn what it is that I don't know so that I can be educated enough to have a conversation about it. So when someone's talking to me about marketing and about Google and the algorithm, it's like, okay, yes, but $50 does not get as far as it used to on Google AdWords as it did 3 years ago or 5 years ago. Now everybody's throwing out, we don't get the traffic. We need to pivot, and we need to, make sure that we have a better local presence. And it's making sure that you understand a bunch of the way that different businesses operate so that you can better yourself. And I sometimes feel that people who don't get that are just sometimes making excuses.
Interesting. I find that there's people who like you who see potential where something does not exist yet, and that is a gift. Certainly, there are others who are like, okay, I can build a better mousetrap. It exists, but I'm gonna do it different. I'm just gonna tweak a few things and make it my own. And there are others that are along for the ride to, they're drawn to the vision and they want to be a part of that. Their vision is very much in a supported role, which visionaries need, or we would not get anything done. And there are others, they're just there, and that's fine too. But I understand, and it's hard. Sometimes it can be hard to articulate the vision when you're seeing something that nobody else can see. It's hard to, well, it's like the Google of this or the Uber of this. Well, if there's no existing anecdote to tie to, it can be even harder. So I hear you.
Yeah, I do. I struggle with that a lot.
Right. Yeah. You are in good company. So how do you fuel yourself as a leader? Do you read books, listen to podcasts, go to conferences, all of the above? How do you make sure that you're driving the business forward and staying on top of trends and all that good stuff?
I try to do all of that you said. I want to look for, not just what is in my neck of the woods. I look from a national scale, what's going on, from what's coming from inside the events industry in the US. But I also look outwardly. I look more globally. I see what's going on in Europe and see how things are transitioning over there. How can we make things better overall? Just because people do it differently somewhere else doesn't mean that it couldn't be done better here or even implemented here. And like you said, most good ideas are just an enhancement of an idea that's already out there. Others don't, they can't see past that because it's already working for them. Books. Yes. I listen to a lot of Audible books. I still do read, but as my ADHD kicks in, I'm probably got 7 or 8 books open right now. So I go from business to marketing to self-improvement or gratitude. I've read The Secret not too long ago, which was pretty much inspired by my wife, because she has this just uncanny ability to always see the good in every situation, no matter how bad it is. And it's like, wow, it is exhausting to think like that too. It is so exhausting to, something that just completely crapped on your day and then just feel like, oh, but it's so, and but, yeah.
Let me wallow for a second.
Yes. Like I have to wallow. I get into the wallowing stage big time, but I'll also fall into that trap of kind of that self-pity, which is where I think a lot of entrepreneurs are. And I have to pull myself back out of that, because I do have so many great things going for me. And I have a lot of things that I've invested in. And then you get this, oh, well, it's not happening fast enough. So it's like, oh, boo-hoo.
But I want it now, like Veruca Salt in Charlie the Chocolate Factory.
I have to have it now. But I'm also reading that Ted Lasso book. Was it Lead with Lasso? I don't know if you saw that series, but it's a great, TV show, and I've enjoyed. I love that, his leadership style, and then I, of course, go from sci-fi to trying to stay up with my adult children and what they're reading. So.
Yes, I have never been formally diagnosed with ADHD, but it is becoming clearer and clearer. And taking down 150 books last year, and I usually have about 8 open at a time as well. I'm like, yeah, this is beginning to make more sense.
It's okay. I mean, but you like me, I've managed it, my entire life without medication, and you learn that I did it through sports and then eating a bunch of sugar and all this. You figure out what you've done to manage it.
Which reminds me, reviewing your bio, we have a little something in common. You went much further than I did, but you were a professional golfer.
Yes, I was for a little while.
Yeah. How was that for you?
It's kind of something that you always envision, that you always strive for. It's that Michael Jordan moment, like, oh, I'm going to be this, or I'm going to be this. And I got a small sliver of that. And when you're doing something that you love that much and you do it well, and it's hard not to kind of live in the moment. It's you're proud of yourself, and you're also having a good time. And the fact that I was able to make a little bit of a living doing it for a short amount of time, hey, I got a piece of it. There's not many people that can say they have.
Yeah, exactly. How having been an elite athlete, impacted your business life? Have you taken any lessons from the links to the boardroom, as it were?
I think a lot of, maybe the one thing that I can say is under pressure, when you know that you have been in a situation, you can get through it with just a little bit of thinking and self-calming of your nerves. You learn to be patient and have confidence and belief in yourself that you're going to do this. And it is absolutely crazy when there's a putt that's like this far and you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, what if I
Gulp.
mean, yeah. And sure, it happens, but it's okay. The one thing that golf did teach me as well is there's another hole. There's another day. You can pick back up, even if you've made a bad decision or a bad choice, or you had some bad luck, or you have the next hole. You can recoup. You can make it better. You can. Every swing is a different swing, and like in golf, sometimes you hit a hole in one. Sometimes you hit an albatross. Sometimes you sink a long putt. You're not going to win them all. You're not going to do it all. And, you have to keep improving upon what you are already good at. Because if you don't keep learning, or if you don't keep practicing, you start digressing. And business, you have to keep learning. You have to keep moving with the times. You have to stay up to par, or else you get left behind.
Yeah, love it. I wish I never want to go back in time. I don't want to relive anything. I have no regrets. I just want to keep moving forward. But I am curious what my golf career would have looked like if I had had the therapist, chiropractor, and personal trainer I have now back when I was in my 20s.
I'm pretty sure that I had a nice little ego. If I could have toned that ego down a little bit more, and maybe not been such a I should have been a little more dedicated than I was. I think I could have maybe gone further, but I like to enjoy myself.
Yeah. You're going the distance now. You're going the distance now. Okay. So, let's switch gears back. We're going to go back to the teaser you gave us at the top of the episode. What is something that's happened to you in your business trajectory where when it happened, you felt like the rug just got pulled right underneath you? You thought, oh my gosh, I don't think we're going to survive this. But ultimately it turned out to be one of the best things that could have happened.
Oof. Lauren, we thought that we had hit just the jackpot. Our business had skyrocketed in a short amount of time. It turns out that even though everybody told us that we were crazy and nobody would why would anybody want a nice bathroom that, we got so much press, so much turns out people really do like to go to a nice bathroom. And we jumped from Georgia to Florida to Washington to Arizona, back to Georgia, back to California. We started opening offices all across the country. And we did it at such a rapid pace in the beginning that we opened licensed offices. We are, like I said, we are like little mini celebrities, or we are thinking that we are mini celebrities. And then we get certified mail. You're going to get slapped with $100,000 fine because you're a franchise. You're selling a franchise, not a license. It's like, but, and they just started coming in right after that. And you can't do this. You can't do that. You can't. And it was a big wake me up call. It was a huge wake me up call. It was like, what do we do? How do we get past this? Are we about to fold, or are we like, what's going on? Yeah. And it was traumatizing to go from way up here to, it was like we were heavyweight champions of the world and we got just knocked out by a nobody. And it was brutal. It was brutal for almost 2 years. It reined us back in, and we couldn't sell any franchises, or we couldn't open any offices. We couldn't even speak to anybody to tell them that we can't talk to them.
Wow.
Made it through it. And we did become a franchise, and we started that process. The bottom fell out of the market soon after that, which was okay. But we focused more on our operations and our offices. And we built those offices to make sure that they endured and continued to prosper in each of their environments in their cities, no matter what. And that was a huge learning curve, but it built where we are today because it kind of manifested our backbone and solidified us as the company in the portable event restroom industry. Fast forward that, we did not ever get back on that growth track, but we've been here 21 years. That's, that's a huge milestone. And that's a credit to what Robert and I have built, but also to all of my office owners and the people that have utilized us for those 21 years and continued to give us, that encouragement and, I guess, reputation that we now have. I was in Cleveland this last weekend, and we're opening our new office up there. So it's all relatively new, and people were just so welcoming at this show. They're like, we are so excited that you're here. We have been waiting for you guys to come up here. And it's like, wow, they were,
nice.
yeah, it was kind of like, really? But you've got that. And it's like, but you've known about us, and someone's used us. Other people have used us, and our reputation has exceeded our expectations.
So it sounds like you were blowing and going there. I've heard it said many times that more businesses die of indigestion than starvation. And it sounds like you might have been on that growth track had you not been forced to take a step aside and really build sustainable operations that could actually really carry you through for the duration.
Yes. And that was a whole heck of a lot better said than I put it. Exactly. I mean, it made us focus on, the fundamentals, because it was still such a new business that a lot of my offices, we were teaching each other. We were growing together. So we had to establish something that was more than just an idea. And that's what built the blueprint for our operations today.
Yeah, it's like a rocket. You can launch a rocket and it can go really fast, but if it's not built well, it's not going to go very far.
I mean, it's really like we were flying an airplane and designing it and modifying it as we were in the air. Right. Which
we still will do. But yeah, I mean, I'm a huge proponent in slowing down to go quickly. I'd rather take a beat, do it right the first time, measure twice, cut once, however many metaphors you want to cram in there. But yeah, I think sometimes it's so alluring and sexy to grow, and it's so fun. You're like, yes, everybody wants this. I put all my chips on the right spot, and then for if it's not built right, it will fail. And so how, you said you feel like you did not go as far as you think you might have otherwise, or you're happy with where you've gotten here?
Well, no, the business was that slowdown period, I think, put a pause on us. It was kind of like a collar that or put a leash on us.
Yeah. Time out.
Yeah, it's like time out. And a lot of other businesses popped up,
from
a copycat design, which is, everybody does a great job in our industry. I can't say that they don't. That's the one great thing about entrepreneurs is they are putting themselves out there, and they're putting their personal reputation on it. And there are not a lot of very large companies that do what we do from a national perspective. There's only two, but they do a lot of other things like portable toilets, whereas we just focus on those event restroom trailer style business.
That's right. So tell us, what's the difference between a license and a franchise?
A license is like you are giving the authority or approval to use the name. And a franchise goes more in depth and restricts what you can and cannot do with it.
Gotcha.
So when we were telling people that the trailers had to be maintained, here's the standard to use this, we were selling more of the business rather than just the name of Royal Restrooms. I mean, it was just, we didn't know. And our attorneys didn't know, and their attorneys didn't know. And it wasn't until we were, I think it was Maryland, we were at the governor's mansion or some state thing in the state event. And the attorney general saw on the back of one of the trailers, for business opportunities, call, and we are soliciting a franchise and not a license.
Got it. I was wondering who ratted you out.
I know, right? Well, hey, they thought it was a good enough idea. They obviously liked it. So
interesting. Okay. All right. There you go. Well, and that's why I always ask this question, because that I'm sure was extremely painful and expensive. And, you were questioning everything, no doubt. But then, look at you now with a couple decades under your belt. And like you said, you went the distance with a stronger company. Okay. So switching gears further, as a kiddo, were you a little entrepreneur as a young boy?
I was always looking to make something better. I was always wanting to make a little bit more money. My father went back to medical school when I was in 8th grade. So,
oh, wow.
We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with 5 of us. There was, I've got I got a brother and a sister. So there was 5 of us that lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. So I kind of had to work if I wanted something. So I was maybe always looking for that little side hustle. How can I make something a little bit better? How can even if I'm making my, $3.25 an hour or whatever, how can I make a little bit more? What can I do differently to catch your attention so that I can make an extra buck or two? So
that transcends to today.
I always was able to make something a little bit better and stand out just a hair more. And it wasn't, I don't think it was out of necessity, because I wanted more than what I had.
I'm sensing a theme.
Yeah, exactly.
And as a kid, was there a personality trait of yours that people either directly told you, David, this is a weakness, or you just perceived it as a weakness based on comments or indirect feedback, but today you realize that it's actually your superpower?
Yeah, I think I've always had kind of a strong personality, and I think a lot of times my confidence would boil over, and it would show kind of that I'm, I don't know, egotistical or whatever you want, more ego driven, when that really wasn't the point that I thought, because I never thought of myself like that. But I think the other was, I've kind of always flew just a hair below the radar too. So I was able to listen before that I presented what it was that I wanted to do. One of my, I almost don't want to even tell you this, but one of my one of my strengths, here you are, blonde hair, have a little hang bang. People just kind of think of duh. And so I always use that to my advantage. So working with Royal Restrooms, I would listen to these government guys, these military guys, and it's like, oh, there's, hang back, whatever, we're going to do this. But I was able to pop back off and know every single thing that they needed which exceeded their expectations, which they listened to me just a little bit more because, I wasn't as polished as they were or somebody that they were thinking, but I knew every single thing that it was that they were looking for. And I was able to present it. And so it's a weakness that I was able to turn into a strength.
I love that. It's like, people make assumptions and you're almost, you're like startling them out of their assumptions. It almost focuses their hearing even more like, oh, wow, well, I was off base. I better focus in here.
Right. And that's helped me probably, throughout my whole life.
I like that. Yeah. I don't have quite that same experience, but I do play dumb a lot. I'm like, oh, really? I'm sorry. I don't know what you're talking about. Tell me more. And get all the real deal. Just, okay. All right. Well, surprise. I actually know everything you're talking about.
Right. And hey, it works, right? It does. It works. Especially when you do know what you're talking about.
Okay, David, what is a piece of advice you can give our listeners to have better and stronger lives and businesses today?
Oh, wow. Well, I think keeping with your theme of the podcast, I think impatience will drive action, but without strategy, it often appears like with me, things turn into chaos. So I think, how do we turn the impatience into urgency and preparation, and how to, execute it that way, execute your weaknesses to your strengths in preparation.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the idea of, it's a good thing to be impatient and to be eager and to want what you want and to drive your thoughts and ideas into the market and make the world a better place as you have. But yes, without strategy, you just making everybody crazy.
You just have to foster that combination to find that purpose, impatience and just that perseverance. You want to make sure that you find that balance before you proceed.
Love it. Well, David, thank you so much for being here. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you, Lauren.
Tell us where people can find you.
Oh, absolutely. So our business is royalrestrooms.com, and we would very much love to be at your next event or possible new franchisee. We'd love to have another office. I can be found on LinkedIn under David Sauers. And of course, Royal Restrooms is on all the social media platforms under Royal Restrooms.
Perfect. We'll put it in the show notes too. Thank you, David.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to The Impatient Entrepreneur. Love the podcast? Be sure to share it with a friend or colleague and give us a 5-star review. You can also chat with us on Instagram or Facebook at The Impatient Entrepreneur Pod. Want to star on a feature episode? Head over to theimpatiententrepreneur.com to inquire. Thank you to the team at Quidar & Co. for believing in me and bringing this podcast to life. And thank you to Carson Childers for mixing and editing this episode. I can't wait to see you next time.